going on, y'all? It's the Abroad DJ podcast. You rocking with your boy DJ DCaso, and I have the homie hailing all the way from Bridgeport, Connecticut, holding it down every Sunday on Connecticut's Hot 93.7 FM. DJ, producer, artist, tour DJ for Chris Webby and several others. My guy Santo, international DJ Santo. What's going on, bro?
Chilling, man. Happy to be here. It's good to see you, despite the circumstances.
Despite the circumstances.
Glad we got to connect, though. What's good, though? How's everything with you?
Yo, bro, I'm living. I'm here. I cannot complain. I'm trying to maintain my little positivity and just keep being productive, man. That shit hard right now.
Yeah? How so?
Honestly, man, it's just something. It's like, I feel like my experiences, me leaving, traveling, jumping around, jumping from clubs, different cities, it gives me that like little itch in my stomach that makes me want to come back and work harder. Or I see somebody else do something, I'm like, yo, I could probably do that plus better. Me being in my own space, like YouTube and all that's not like doing it for me.
So you've been like fishing for inspiration? How's that been going?
Yo, I'm literally just been fishing. I've just been on Instagram, World Star. I'm looking up DJ routines. I'm looking up old DJ routines. I'm trying to like learn my scratches, like get clean on certain scratches. So, I mean, I've been productive.
Yeah.
It's just not to the extent that I'm usually productive.
I hear you.
How about you? You say you just got this microphone. You setting up a podcast studio. So
yeah, we set like a broadcast studio up right in the middle of the living room. Just to be able to connect with people, man. Like we doing today. I just figured, you know what? I think the doors are opening up. There's phase 2 going on in Connecticut for people to go out, but that still doesn't mean that everybody's gonna be rushing out. Wanting to go meet up and party and do things. So I was like, you know what? Let me still invest on at least, being able to connect with the people that I rock with, regardless of where they are in the world. You know what I'm saying? So here we are. That's
a super fact. Yeah. So let's get into the questions, right? When I'm thinking about music, I heard that you've been DJing or you've had music in your life since the age of 12. Where did that passion come from?
I think it was I think more than the music itself that I loved. I just love what music does to people. You know what I mean? So what I would do when I was, that age, I would ask for music for like Christmas and birthdays and things like that.
Okay.
And then when I would get albums, I would listen to the albums and I would hear songs that I like on the album that wasn't on the radio. You know what I mean? So I'm like, hold up, this is fire. So I just would collect all of my favorite songs off of all the music that I had, put it on a mixtape, on a cassette, and I would just give them out. You know what I mean? So I was essentially just curating my own mixtapes of just things that I liked, and then I would just give them out as presents to like family members and friends, and then just singing like their reaction when they would play songs that they weren't necessarily familiar with because it was like an album cut. I would get joy off of that, like putting them on. You know what I'm saying? Like
that B-side records, I already know.
Yeah. So it was like I love music. Don't get me wrong, but I just for some reason I just like the way that music just lights up people. You know what I mean?
Word. Did you feel like your community or your environment influenced that at all? So
definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. I have to give credit to my parents, man. Like my mom's favorite rapper is Rakim.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And Tupac. So you could just imagine, the rides that what was going on in our car.
Okay.
Me growing up as a little youth, listening to some Paid in Full mixtape or Paid in Full, like back to back to back. That and then my pops at the time, he would have like a monster.
All right, so let's.
I think just understanding that both play a part. You know what I mean? I think I think like the argument of You know, how you would see online, oh, without the DJ, there wouldn't be no music. Oh, well, without the promoter, there wouldn't be no people. Yeah. And without the busboy, things wouldn't be clean. Without the bartender, your drinks wouldn't be served. You know what I'm saying? You know, things wouldn't be swept. The bathroom wouldn't be clean without the janitor. So it's like the list can go on as far as like everybody playing a role. And I just feel like once everybody understands their role universally and we could all have a respect for each other's role, and I think we can make it a little further than where we are, just because of the fact that now promoters have like a misunderstanding of the DJ having to be like 20 different things. And don't get it twisted. We are like 20 different things, but it's because we choose to be, not because you're telling us to be. You know what I'm saying? So like if I decide I want to be a graphic designer / promoter / manager / assistant, whatever it is, that's my decision. You're not going to tell me, you know, what it is that I need to be doing besides playing music. You know what I'm saying? So everything on that is icing on the cake. So once we can get that understanding, then I think we could be better off. But regardless of the fact, I'm not saying, oh, you know, I'm just a DJ, I'm just going to show up here and play music. If we're both on the same team and I have respect for what you do and vice versa, I don't mind picking up the slack and vice versa, because that's what a team is supposed to do. So I'm not going to be the guy that says, oh, I don't get paid for that. You know, there's nothing worse than that guy. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's
a
fact.
I got a co-worker that don't want to just help out because it's not in their job description. So I don't mind bending over backwards for people as long as it's not expected of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't think that it's like something that I need to do. You know what I'm saying? So as long as we on the same page as far as that, then I don't mind bending over backwards.
Okay, you know okay. So leveling up, right? I feel like a lot of DJs now, especially with Corona being so rampant, a lot of people are becoming curators, right? Where it's not just the DJ just playing the music. Like they're doing their own Zooms, they're creating their own podcasts, they're creating everything in that essence. Once this flips, do you feel like the need of the
I see where you're going.
wholesale promoter will still be needed, since all these DJs, since all these entertainers are learning how to do the craft themselves, learning how to gather these people together by themselves? Do you feel like
I think the value is going up? Yeah, the value is for sure going to go up for the DJ, because I think now it's like a universal understanding of how important the DJ is again. You know, I think people knew. I think people started to forget. And maybe we even started to forget, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, we got to kind of take responsibility for that too, because we're only going to get walked over as much as we allow it. You know what I mean? So you're only going to get those shitty deals, and, you know, as long as you allow it, you know what I'm saying? So now I think everybody's starting to understand the value of the DJ again. And I think it's putting us in a place where we're going to have a little bit more leverage going in.
That's real.
Into the scene. You know what I'm saying?
That's real. So again, me doing a little deep diving, I'm finding out, like, in your past, you were helped, and there were certain people. I'm always big on talking about relationships, the importance of relationships, whether that be from the beginning of your career to later on in the career. And it seemed that somebody that was really important as far as relationship with you was Danny A.
Yeah.
Could you kind of talk to that a little bit?
Oh, you did a little research, huh?
Come on.
Well, I want to say, well, speaking of the relationships, man, I want to give you some credit and shout you out, because you always made sure that you stayed in touch and you always showed love. So definitely shout out to you for that. For being a solid one. Yeah, Danny A, man, he was the one that I was so when I first started out, I was like started out as like an artist.
Yeah.
So I had like a group. So it was me, my man Odiel, shout out to my brother Eli, you know, we would make music in Odiel's crib. And this is you know, so we was like doing that. And we did a showcase one day. And the showcase was promoted by Danny A.
Okay.
And I remember at the end of the showcase, he just saw how young we were, and the fact that we were recording all our music in our house and everything that we were doing, which is pretty much like independent and self-sufficient. So he was just like, yo, I like what y'all doing. So we built like a little bit of relationship, and then you know, we started to sub promote for him.
Okay.
You know, so like the team parties that he was doing, we were like passing out flyers and you know, we were like hosting and everything like that.
Right.
And then and at this time, I had turntables and I did start DJing, but it was like in the basement. I had like collect a few crates at the time, but it wasn't really nothing serious. And when he found that out, he was like, "You DJ?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I you know what I mean? I haven't really done any big gigs, but I'm like, yeah, I know how to DJ."
Facts.
So he was like, "Yo, why don't you open up for djKY, which was the resident DJ at the time, for his gigs, and you know, we'll see how you do." So I'm like, say less, and I just never turned back. I was just like, I took that first gig. And then he just opened up the opportunity for me to keep rocking. And then, you know, shout out to Danny A, man, for pretty much opening that door for me.
That's real. That's real. So
it was like 0 to 100. It was like me, like I said, in the basement. And then next thing you know, I'm opening up for djKY, and I'm talking about like clubs, team parties that was doing 800 people to 1,000 people at the time.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like, yo, I just jumped right in the water, and then I just got the itch after that. I was like, nah, there's no turning back. I just
you had the right people around you.
Yeah, I decided to stick to what I was better at the time, which was playing music and not making it.
Yo, but that's real that you could actually that's real that you could actually say that. You feel me?
Yeah, no
that's
doubt.
real. Yo,
No
talk
doubt.
about the musical ecosystem, right? The relationship between the DJ and their receivers, the audience, right? Can you talk about what's the importance, especially during this time? So it's like, I know a lot of people's lives are keeping people motivated and keeping people positive, especially with Corona, especially with all the Black Lives Matter movements happening. Can you just talk to that relationship, like that, still being able to talk to an audience and still uplift their spirits?
The response that I've been getting from going live has been like a lot of, people saying that I'm helping them. But I honestly feel like they're helping me as much, if not more, than I'm helping them, because it's kind of keeping me, first of all, sharp, and that, that muscle. Yeah. We have to pretty much kind of, that DJ muscle that we have, as far as picking records and everything like that. So it's keeping me sharp, and then it's also just keeping me sane. You know what I mean? Like, it's keeping me, even though I'm looking through a phone and I'm talking to like comments and stuff like that, I'm still socializing, and it's keeping me on point, keeping me sharp. So they love the fact that, we're playing music for them. I mean, even as like a consumer or like or a fan, I was that same feeling that they're saying that they're getting from me DJing, I was getting by watching D Nice on the first few nights. So when I'm watching D Nice and I'm like, wow, it feels like I'm at a party with Michelle Obama right now.
Yeah.
I never, you know what I mean? I never thought that I would, all right, maybe be at a party with Michelle Obama, but I never thought I'd be on the same, playing field. Not like, if we were ever to be in the same place, she's going to be like in a VIP and I'll be somewhere else.
Yeah.
We're all in the same area. We're in this chat room. You know what I mean? So when I felt that energy and I'm like, oh, now we can club hop, and I got my, I got sweats on and I ain't even dressed, and I can go to 5-6 different clubs and check out DJs that I rock with. And that feeling that I was getting, the feeling like I was being out of the house mentally, I was like, you know what? Maybe some other people will feel that feeling if I decided to start DJing. So when I started to DJ on live, people started to get that reaction like, oh, I'm feeling like, they started naming events that I would do. I'm feeling like I'm at a brunch. Okay. Or I'm feeling that, one of my residencies, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of crazy. So it's definitely important for us as DJs just as much as it is for the people that are watching.
That's real. So how you staying motivated, inspired in this ever-changing DJ game? I know you've been producing and playing with that kind of information, but how have you been staying motivated and inspired right now?
The lives most recently, and then before that it was producing, like you said. Because like, I don't know, man. I just felt like the DJing, it's fun, don't get me wrong, but it's like, how long are we going to be able to do the same thing and get the same feeling? You know what I mean? Like, what I mean is like them butterflies and that excitement, you know what I mean? So, it really got scary for me with one particular event is when I did Hot Jam, and I spoke about this a few times, but I think it's important to talk about this because, this is something that, and Hot Jam is it's like a summer jam for a Hot 937. So, it's 20,000 people. It's the Xfinity Theater. It's an amphitheater. So it's like, it's ridiculous as far as like the attendance. And us as DJs, we always strive and work to be able to get to those moments. You know what I mean? And you always think in your head what those moments are going to be like before you actually get there. And you have these big expectations of what that feeling is going to be and everything like that. And don't get me wrong. And it was exciting. And I did have a little butterfly feeling, but it wasn't what I expected. You know what I mean? And it got scary for me because I'm sitting backstage before I got to go on. And it was just like another gig. You know what I mean? Just like I was doing another club. And I'm like, okay, some of that is cool because I built the confidence enough where I could be able to, go out there and confidently do my thing. But at the same time, it's like the fun part of it is that nervous feeling. You know what I mean? Once you start to lose that in your stomach, it starts to get dangerous. You know what I mean? So I'm like, well, I got to figure something out to kind of stay motivated. So that's why I kind of picked up the producing and just started to just dive into that. You know what I mean? I leased out a studio. Okay. And I just like kind of just when I would go out and I did it purposely where it was like far enough from my house where like immediate family and friends couldn't necessarily get to me that easily. You know what I mean? They would have to go out their way to get to me. You know what I mean? And I did it on purpose because I felt like, you know what, let me unplug and let me just kind of feed the soul and figure out what it was that I fell in love with again. And I was sharing music with people. And So when I was started to produce, I would get more nervous. Even to this day, I'll get more nervous playing you a song or playing one or two people a song that I worked on than I got that day for DJing for 20,000 people. You understand? I'm getting bigger butterflies because this is new waters for me. This is now I'm nervous because I take music so seriously. So I want to make sure that I'm not disrespecting the music in any way and I'm, contributing. So that feeling, I got that spark again when I started to produce, and then it kind of just spilled over to DJing again. So now I feel like I'm,
You got that spark back. That's real. That's real.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you diving into the producing game, right? At this point, you've already produced. No, actually, before we get to that, I want to talk about. I was paying attention, and you have something called the Watches, right? Yeah. And I need you to speak to that, like what the Watches were. What was your motivation for putting the Watches together, and then we'll talk about the pieces that connect that together.
All right, so the Watchers is actually a record that was supposed to come out that we decided to push back.
Okay.
For different reasons. It was some business behind it, and it was kind of just more or less like I'm not gonna really get into why we pushed it back, but the Watchers was a record that started on the road. Actually started with Annoyed. Okay. So I played Annoyed the beat. And Annoyed, if you don't know who Annoyed is, he's an artist from Connecticut that's incredible. He could wrap circles around your favorite artists.
That's a fact.
And he could, his pen is crazy with melodies and song making, songwriting. So he's definitely a rare breed. So when we get together, it's like you never really know kind of where we're gonna go. It could be an R&B song, or it could be like some hip hop shit, like the Watchers. So I'm playing them a few different vibes, and the beat that I did for the Watchers, I played it for him, and he loved it. He recorded a verse on it. And then I went on the road with Webby and Jaron Benton. So I'm on a road with Chris Webby and Jaron Benton. I played Jaron the record. He rocks with it. He does a verse on it.
Okay.
So now I got a verse from them too. So now it's like, okay, now I got heavy enough hitters for me to go to Chris Webby and be like, yo, dog, I need your help on this. And actually, it didn't even go down like that. I had a hook for somebody else, and then I played it for Webby. And then Webby, because Chris Webby, man, when it comes to that dude, he's such a perfectionist, and he's such a workaholic when it comes to making music. So when he hears a song, he hears it differently than most people. You know what I mean? Right. So he heard the hook that we had, and he was just like, yeah, it's cool. You know what I mean? He's like, but I would have like, did this, or I would have, some variations he had with a melody or whatever. I'm like, oh really? I'm like, so why don't you just, I'm like, so why don't you just do it?
Oh, you think he's slick?
I'm like, so why don't you just, he's like, yeah, you know what? And I could tell he wanted to do it. You know what I mean? Cause the feedback that he gave, he was like, yeah, I'll just do it. So I'm like, okay, well, word. If you insist, you know what I mean? So I guess Chris Webby could be on a song. You know what I mean? I guess I'll run it by Annoyed and Jaron Benton and see how they feel. Nah, Webby's the homie, man. But yeah, so Webby pretty much, he blessed me with the hook, and then the whole point of the song was pretty much, how we all take it pretty much seriously now. When we call it the Watchers on the wall, it's like protecting the kingdom. You know what I mean? Like gargoyles. You know what I mean? So when you go to like so like the gargoyles, they're out all night and they're watching, making sure that, nothing goes in that doesn't belong. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they might come off looking evil, crazy, and we might come off rough or whatever the case is, but the intentions is to make sure that we keep it sacred. And what I mean by the kingdom and I guess the church is pretty much hip hop, you know what I mean? And music, you know what I mean? So we want to make sure that we do our part to be on the front line to make sure that we keep it authentic. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful, bro. And I know since that track didn't come out, I know you did release one where it was you, Webby, and Annoyed called Appreciation, right? Which dropped June 2nd. Oh
no, Appreciation is actually dropping. It's me and Annoyed, and that's dropping June 30th.
Okay.
So I don't know when this is going to come out. It'll probably be out already by the time this comes out. But the record that me, Annoyed, and Webby did was dwzKY, and that one came out a few months ago.
Word.
Yeah, that was a
crazy response. That was a crazy response.
That's kind of shout out to Webby and Annoyed. They pretty much put me on a Spotify map with that. You know what I mean? So like my first record coming out the gate was with dwzKY, and it wasn't just a production credit that they gave me. Like Webby actually put me on as a feature. So like all the statistics that got, the over 1 million streams and everything like that, it all reflects on my Spotify. You know what I mean? So that was like a alley-oop that they gave me. So shout out to Webby and Annoyed for that, for sure.
Word. So talking about that, let's help some artists out at this point, right?
Okay.
So discuss the difficulties of becoming a Spotify artist and like the steps to releasing your own music, right? There's a lot of artists out here that are constantly like, yo, I'm gonna put my stuff on SoundCloud, Mixcloud. I don't know when to put it out. I want this DJ to play blah, blah, blah. You're an officially a Spotify artist. What are some steps that the rising artists need to look for or need to follow in order to do the exact same thing?
I mean, it's a little different for me because like being a producer and a DJ, I can kind of collaborate with an artist like Webby or artists like Annoyed and basically kind of piggyback off of their numbers. You know what I mean? So if you're just like if you're just an artist that's doing solo music, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to have to, you know, build your own crowd and build your own followers. Me, I had the opportunity to piggyback off of them, and that wasn't just something that was handed to me. You know what I'm saying? That was definitely, you know, I've toured with Webby, for those who don't know, for 5 years now. Me and Annoyed have history. So this was a relationship, and they pretty much, like I said, they didn't have to do that for me. You know what I'm saying? They could have just, I could have gave them the beat, paid me for the beat, and just gave me a credit on the, you know, BMI, and it could have been just that. But me knowing how important it is to have the Spotify algorithm in your favor and have those, you know, those streams, they put me on as an artist. So it wasn't just a feature. I was on as a premier artist, or you know. So what it is it's Webby, Annoyed, and Santo. So all of those streams pretty much go on my statistics. So that's where it is. It's kind of playing. You got to play a little bit of a game to kind of, you know, make sure that algorithm is working in your favor. So, you know, for instance, I got that record that helped me out, put me on the map. So now I could put out a solo record, right? Piggyback off of that. And then the next one, do another feature, you know what I mean? And get another artist that has followers. So I could pretty much, you know, piggyback off of their following. So, I mean, it's a numbers game, but at the same time, I wouldn't really get caught up in that. I would just make sure that if I were you, if I was an artist putting out music, I would just focus on getting my fan base and just zeroing in on them and figuring out what they want. So even if it's starting out with 50 people, you know, don't worry about the millions that are not listening to your music. You know, zone in on those 50 people and figure out what it is that they like about your music and feed them. And that's not advice that I'm giving because it's something that I've done personally yet, because I'm still working on the music, but that's advice that I can give off of working with Webby and seeing what Webby and what works for him. You know, a lot of people don't know Chris Webby. He's still underground to a lot of people, but he's able to tour relentlessly. He's able to, you know, feed his family, you know, have a whole staff, me included, on the payroll. And he's able to do what he loves without sacrificing the type of music that he makes, because he knows what his fans want from him and what they expect from him. So yeah, he can be creative and he can make different types of records, but he knows at the end of the day what they want, so he'll go and zero back. You know what I mean? So if he's putting out like a commercial record, for instance, and you know, or same with Annoyed, and his fans might, you know, like, all right, this is cool, but this is not why I fell in love with you. He knows that though. But they're giving him the freedom to basically experiment with the music, because they know that he's going to come back to them. They know that the next record that he drops is going to be something that they're going to love, or it's going to be a sway freestyle or a flex freestyle, something to kind of give them that fix. So you got to be familiar with what your fan base is rocking with you, and you got to be able to feed them. You know what I mean?
That's real. So do you feel like a lot of this knowledge that you now have is because your personality and DJ for 93.7 out in Connecticut? I mean, you've also worked with several radio stations in the past, but do you feel like all of this knowledge that you've now amassed is more so from radio, or would you just say it's one of those things you were in the right places at the right time?
I think it has a combination with everything. You know, everything that I've done just all built up to, because I've always, you know, as DJs, you know this, we're observant, and it's our job to kind of read a room, and it's our job to take bits and pieces of what we see what's going on in the world. So we scrolling through Snapchat or Instagram and we see girls doing makeup, getting ready to songs, all of that, you know, or whatever the case may be. We take those analytics and we use that. So I've always been an observant person. So I always been a type where I was like the youngest in my crew always, you know what I mean? So even when I was like young in school, I was in middle school hanging out with the kids in high school and stuff like that. It was just because I always gravitated towards learning off of other people's experiences. So I could see how I can maneuver. So even with with the radio, you know, studying Big Man and Craig G and Jenny Boom and the people that work for the radio, DJ Buck, seeing how they move, asking them questions and being a sponge. Same with going on tour with Chris Webby and learning from Webby and learning from Chris Fury. You know what I mean? So I've always just been a sponge, and I always know that I don't know everything. Even with the DJing, I'm still learning how to DJ to this day. I tell people that, you know, regardless of how much I know, I know that there's still more to learn. You know what I mean?
That's a fact. That's a super fact.
Yeah.
So being that you're both artists and DJ, right? Yeah. Let's talk about that relationship. I feel a lot of people, and that becomes like a very troubled conversation, because artists, how am I trying to say this? Artists believe that the DJs are responsible for making sure that their music gets played without giving the support to the DJ. And DJs ultimately, I mean, myself included, I'm more of a, as long as we have a dope relationship and you approach the proper way, I help anybody.
Yeah.
What do you feel like is that breakdown? What do you feel are the necessary steps for artists and DJs to now link up and like actually spread and disperse music?
I mean, all right, so this is coming from a DJ, coming from a radio DJ at that.
Yeah. Okay.
DJs, and so I'm going to say this right now, and this might be an unpopular opinion for DJs. They're not going to want to hear this, but DJs aren't breaking records like that no more. Like, let's be honest. So let's just face the facts.
Radio DJs.
Yeah, let's just face the facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're influencers, and we might be able to influence other DJs and other people to wanna, but that's just one piece of a very, very big puzzle right now. You know what I'm saying? So investing your time and energy into trying to, have a DJ play a record and thinking that that's what's going to be, what's going to break everything. That's not the case. It's really rare in between. Like right now, Flex could drop a bomb on my record tomorrow. It's not going to mean much if I don't have all my other things in line, if I don't have everything else that I need to have, which is making sure that my fan base is there and making sure that, everything that I have a direct connection. So I think building a direct connection with your fans is more important than trying to figure out what DJ could play your record, because this is how I look at it. Maybe a few years back, it would have been, that energy and that time or money that you would have spent into trying to build those relationships with DJs. It was more important then because music was more difficult to get to. So people would look to us to break music. You know what I mean? So you got to remember, like, before Spotify and all these streaming platforms came out, the only way you was really getting access to new music is if you was going to a club hearing a DJ, if you was getting like a Clue mixtape or something like that, if you was buying a new album that came out, or of a movie soundtrack came out. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about when movie soundtracks was popping, just because we were that hungry and thirsty for new music. Yeah, right. Yeah. So it was harder to find the new music. So we would trust into the DJs to present new music for us, and we would get excited. Now, music is so easily accessible that everybody feels like they're a DJ now, in a way, right? So everybody feels like they could do a better job with you with the aux cord, right? So it's like, pass me the aux cord. Let me play what's in my playlist. I'm going to hold this shit down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So now everybody has this, and all the music is in their phone. So they have access to it directly. So they're not looking for the DJs to put them on anything anymore. They'd rather go to a Spotify and see what's on the, whatever the top playlists are to find the music, or go to YouTube. You know what I mean? So our job as far as breaking music isn't as important as it was. So I wouldn't even waste my time trying to bark up the tree of trying to get a DJ because it's like, now the DJ's got to pretty much follow the bandwagon now. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I tell artists. Don't come to me with a record it could be the best record that I ever heard in my life sonically. But if it's not a record that I heard somebody else playing before, or if I seen on Snapchat a girl doing her makeup or getting dressed to, or if there's no buzz around it, it doesn't matter if it's the best record in the world. More than likely, I'm not going to take the chance on it, because I can't be the only person playing your record, because that's not going to do much, right? So when you walk into, for instance, what I learned from being on the radio, when you walk into a program director's office and you present them a record, the first question that they're going to ask you is, where are you going when you leave here, right? So, because I can't be the only one if we're an army, I can't be the only one on the front line promoting this record. Right. It's not going to do nothing. So I got to know that when you leave here, you're going to Boston. You know what I'm saying? You're going to go to New York. You're going to go to Jersey or wherever these markets are, and you're going to go talk to those program directors too. So now I know, okay, he's doing his work, doing his due diligence. I'm not going to be the one that that gets left behind. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'll jump on board, but it's a bandwagon. You got to create the bandwagon, and you got to create that energy to get people excited to want to play your record. Facts. I mean, to get the DJs wanting to play your record. So get the record hot, and then bring it to the DJs. Facts. Okay. Don't do vice versa, because they're like, oh, how am I going to get the record hot if DJs aren't supporting it? And then how are people going to hear it? Guess what? that's up to you to figure out, my man. You know what I'm saying? It's YouTube is out there. There's a lot of people out there that can give you some advice. You got to figure out how to get your record somewhat buzzing, and then the DJs will jump on it.
That's real.
You know what I mean?
Real. Okay. So, I mean, talking about that also, again, being with your influence in radio and your position on radio, when we talk about radio itself and we talk about like the unsigned hype right now, where a lot of people are trying to go the unsigned route, right? Where they don't want radio spins to kind of like mimic exactly what you were saying, where it's like the radio DJ ain't going to help me break this. Let me build it myself. Do you still feel like there's a place for radio? And again, do you still feel like there's a place for radio in this market with such a strong digital basis out there? The SoundClouds, the Spotifys, the Apple Musics, the titles.
Radio, at the end of the day, definitely plays a part still, right? But it's not the part of getting you from A to B. You know what I'm saying? You got to get from A to B or to C to D, whatever yourself. Get that buzz and that, like I was saying a second ago. But what radio could do is take you to like that different level. You know what I'm saying? So it can help you get on the Billboard chart. You know what I mean? So you could be touring, and you could be selling merch, and you could be doing your Spotify thing, and that's all good. What radio could do for you is take you from there and bring you to the next level. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely, don't get it twisted, radio is definitely important still. If you ask a lot of the major labels, there's still, A&Rs are still, you know, making sure those relationships are good with the radio DJs. But it's with records that are already have grown feet of their own. So like when an A&R hits us up in an email, they're not just sending us the record. They're saying, okay, here's the record, and here's what it's doing on Shazam, and here's what it's doing in your market, and here's a video for it. So they're basically trying to give us testimonials to let us know that we're not the only ones that'll be playing it. There's other people supporting it. You know what I'm saying? And then we could help bring it to that next level. You know what I mean?
That's real. And I think y'all need to really pay attention to that point. Like that's he's giving y'all gems, honestly. I feel like,
because you know how it is being a DJ. A lot of artists, they reach out to us and they don't include the key information that we're gonna need to basically figure out whether or not we want to support this record. You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure that when you're pitching a record to a DJ, you're saying, hey, listen, you don't say this verbatim, but you're basically saying this record's gonna go with or without you. Now I'm giving you the courtesy of letting you in now and letting you know what I'm doing and seeing if you want to jump on board. But guess what? If you don't, this record's going to go.
Yeah.
You don't say that, but you got to figure out what you're going to put in that email to give off that energy. So when I'm looking through the email, I'm like, oh, wait, hold up. They playing it here? Oh, I don't even know. Oh, this is popping on TikTok. And now I'm feeling like I'm slacking. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, wait, I didn't even hear about this record. But it got this amount of streams on Spotify. Hold on, I gotta catch up now. Now I gotta play catch up, and now I gotta jump on. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that's real. Let's talk about longevity in this, right? You already said that there's been points in it where it's like you've lost your butterflies, you gained it back doing production, you're playing and dabbling with the artistry. Yeah. Let's talk about rising DJs, right? What do you think are the tools that rising DJs need in order for them to have longevity in this game?
Rising DJs. I don't know, man. I think it's important to have like mentors, you know. I think because I don't know, I'm just saying that from personal experience. Like now we're in a day and age where you could just grab a computer and tomorrow you could be DJing on live and there you go. Now you're DJ so-and-so and now you have a career. You know what I'm saying? and that's great, you know what I mean? And I love that because, you know, you're kind of skipping the middleman. You don't need anybody to do what it is that you want to do, but it takes away that, you know, when you have like when you were like carrying crates for another DJ, and before the computers and everything were out, you would have to like pay dues. You know what I mean? You would have to pay dues. You wouldn't have to, but you would want to pay dues because you would want to feel like you were accepted from people that you looked up to that were doing the same thing that you want to do. You know what I'm saying? So when I was coming up, I would get a kick off of, you know, doing a set and opening up for DJ DCaso or whoever it was, and them telling me like, yo, you did a good job, or you killed it, or them giving me instead of 10 minutes, now I'm getting 20. Yeah. Now I'm getting 30, or now instead of opening, now I'm closing 2, or you know what I mean? So it's like, and now we don't have that as far as the new DJs, they don't have that. So I think going out and getting some mentors, you know, getting some people that can help steer you in the right direction is not a necessity, but I think it'll help.
That's
you know
real.
What I mean? I think it'll help.
That's a super fact.
Yeah.
You have any random pet peeves, like musical pet peeves right now? Like, what are the shit that just throw you off, whether you DJ in the club or you're out, whatever the case is? Are there any particular pet peeves when it comes to this music game that's like, yo?
I'm not the DJ that like, you know, the no request DJ. I'm not really that guy. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
I don't mind people coming up and telling me what they want to hear, because at the end of the day, like, I want to know what the people want to hear. You know what I'm saying? I'm not there for no reason to play what I want to hear. You know what I'm saying? I'm going, if I'm DJing for you and I'm DJing a cookout for you, for instance, I want to know what y'all want to hear. So if I'm not getting any requests, it's a good thing, because that means I must be doing a good enough job. You feel like you don't have to come up to me to make a request, but if you decide to come up to me, I'm not going to take it personally. Like, I'm not doing, like, you know, I like to, especially with the younger crowd, I kind of welcome the request. I don't say, hey, listen, if you got a request, holler at me, because then it'll be like a shitstorm. But I don't mind it with the younger crowd, because they're always up to something that I'm not on. You know what I mean? There's always a new record that's on TikTok or Spotify that's popping that I'm just, as DJs, you can't be on every single thing. So I don't mind that. What I think, as far as like I think the production of the music is kind of more of my where I kind of have a little bit of an issue is,
Okay.
it's just like the hi-hat with like the Juice World 808. It's just like, bro, like, I love that, don't get me wrong, but please just like try a little harder with the creativity. You know what I'm saying? I'm just searching for a little bit more creativity. And that's just not even as a DJ. This is as a music lover I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How you feel about that? I was talking to a couple friends, and it's like, I feel like finding, and it's hard to say this, bro, but I feel like finding good music that I still vibe to is getting harder and harder. And it's like, I always keep thinking about it. Is it an age thing where it's like, am I just aging out and this shit it's not as it doesn't like touch me the same way that it used to? Or is it just like sonically?
I think it's out there. I think it's just like we said earlier, before it was kind of easier to find the music for us. You know, we would know where to look, go to the record store, whatever comes out that week. Now it's just so many people making music that it's out there, but it gets flooded, and you got to kind of filter through it to find what it is that you kind of vibe with. So I guess if you know where to look and you know what playlists is kind of, put music that kind of like, gravitates to what you like, you could find it, but it's just a lot of bullshit out there too, though. You know what I'm saying? So it gets strenuous.
Yeah.
Going through all the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You kind of, you don't have the motivation for when a new album drops to go through every record again. Cause you're like, God damn, like,
yep.
All right. The last 6 albums I just heard, I only heard about 1 or 2 tracks off of each joint that I could vibe with. So it gets strenuous, but I think the music is out there. It's just harder to find. It's harder to find.
Is there anything that you wish you knew now? Is there anything you wish that you've learned now that you wish you would have learned a little bit earlier that would have saved you like stress, headache, money, time?
I think it's just, enjoying the process a little bit more, you know?
Yeah.
You know, we so focused on tomorrow and what we're trying to set ourselves up with and what the goal is. But I think somewhere along the way, you got to just enjoy the process. You got to just take a few, moments to kind of like acknowledge the accomplishments that you did make, rather than stressing about what you didn't get a chance to do. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's, for me personally, that's kind of where I'm at now, which is like, I haven't had to have a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? I've still been able to eat. And I think one of those things that kind of put that whole thing, that mind state in perspective, was the quarantine that we just went through and the pandemic that we just went through. Kind of like, you moving 100 miles a minute and you going out and touring like how we were doing. And like I said, you're on tour and I'm worried about gigs from when I get home, and I'm home and I'm worrying about the next tour. So I'm steady chasing what it is that I feel like I want, rather than just sitting in the moment and enjoying the moment sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's something that I learned in probably the last few weeks or last few months.
Okay.
That I think I would have just probably done a little bit differently. Like, just enjoy the process, man.
That's real shit.
I mean,
real shit. Is there anything that you want to tell people where they could keep up with you? I mean, we know this project's on the way. And by the time this drops, it will be already out. So just tell them where to find that information, where to find those records, and how to keep up with you.
Yeah, you could just hit me up. You can follow me on Spotify. That would be amazing if you could do that. It's International Santo on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, wherever you want to stream music. Appreciation with Annoyed. Go check that out. That'll be out June 30th. Yeah, and then shout out to my boy London. We're coming out. We're working on a project right now. London is a reggae artist.
Word.
So he's originally from Jamaica, but he moved to Connecticut. And me and him got about 12 records right now in the stash. Okay. And we're kind of just now talking about it because, like, you know, it's almost that time. You know what I'm saying? So once, you know, I'm going to thought of a few records for the summer, and I think once everything kind of clears up around September, October is when we're going to be releasing the album. So definitely be looking out for that. Shout out to my boy London. Big up yourself. London.
Yeah, son. Just know I appreciate you always. I swear every time we link up, it's always love. We always
no doubt.
Conversations is real.
No
like
doubt,
you one of those people and talking about the industry is just like you one of those people where it's always felt natural with. It wasn't one of those you had to fight with the conversation or had to force the conversation. So
appreciate
you blessing this podcast, bro. I'm just trying to help the cast that's coming up. The ones that always in the emails and the DMs, I feel like, yo, here's all the information. Just go here.
Thank you, man. It feels good to socialize with a human being. You know what I mean? You know, being cool to be in the crib. Anytime you want to do this, sign me up. Sign me up.
That's a fact. So we're going to talk, my brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for blessing the podcast.
No doubt.
Y'all already know the bro DJ, my brother Santo, International Santo. Let's go. We out of here.